Okay, we are going to do part two. We're going to finish, or try our best to finish this video. Um, we left off on, I'll rewind it a little bit. Nah, probably not. We were having a conversation about why Europe was in a quote unquote dark age. And what they were pointing out is that Europe was in a dark age not because during 600 to 1000 AD. Not because of um you know the Western Roman Empire collapsing or anything. It was because of Islam. And there's a couple additions I want to make to a couple. I'll just make one point. Right. In the previous part, he claimed he is in Pax 2 claimed that the the Muslims coming in were invasive and harsh to the Christians. And in some cases, that's absolutely true. But there are many cases of the Christians preferring the Muslims and how the Muslims treated the regular everyday people of the area over the Byzantines. So that when the Muslims were able to conquer Byzantine territory, the people living there were excited. They were happy that they had new leadership. So, towards the end, I can do this right now. I can pull up some sources, right? That'll help me back my point up. So, let me pull some stuff up. This might take a second, but it's so far it's not looking good. So far I'm not a fan of the points that they are making. And I think they're extremely biased and sometimes just historically inaccurate. I think the top couple inaccuracies that I've seen so far is definitely. I'll just point out one. I think the number one inaccuracy so far is the whole Dark Ages conversation, right? Because we were looking at this map, we were talking about things like power vacuums and lack of centralization within. We're pulling up this map, excuse me, and we were looking at kind of the decentralized nature of Western Europe in this time. But instead of examining that in the historical analysis, we were blaming it on the Muslim people. And I'd love to see his evidence for that. So just give me 1 second. I can. There's no way I'm gonna have time to do this whole thing. But I'm happy to put this in parts and kind of splice it together. I could have just done that. There's just one point I want to add. So maybe I'll edit in the other video. So what I wanted to prove so far, because I want to be better than than what I'm looking at right now. Like that's like it's a. I don't want to be the guy saying anything. I might not be able to access this. So I have access to a lot of historical resources that I might not be able to access because it is summer. I will try, but I think that'd be fun if I could um look at my look to my um yeah, let me try. Hmm. Yeah, that's weird. All right, I guess not. So what I was trying to do was access a document resource that I have as a teacher to kind of prove my point. But I'm sure I can find it. Let's see. Ooh, this is a book. Okay. All right, this might be a little tough, but we can grok it. All right, how about we do my least favorite thing? All right. All right. So this is kind of what I'm referencing here. I don't like doing this as a historical argument. I don't think it's correct. But it kind of shows what I'm talking about. Right, so if I go back, if we're making the argument that the, it's pretty ahistorical, just to say that they were conquered and then they were treated unfairly or treated poorly. My point is that there were many that preferred Muslim leadership, at least at first, especially the polytheistics. Right, the Zoroastrians were being brutally oppressed by the Christians, and the Muslims went to them saying that oh, we would treat you better, and they did. So they were able to kind of ally with these polytheistic religions. All right, so we are 8 minutes in. We can. I'm kind of down to save this reaction for part two. I think we're gonna make a video out of this one, but I'm just gonna stream for another 30 minutes or so. We're not going to finish it. It took me 30 minutes to go through 8 minutes. So I just want to do some fun stuff for the next 30 minutes or so. All right, what we're not going to do is we're not going to watch Linus Tech Tips. We're gonna find some fun stuff to watch. Oh, this is wrong account. I was like, what's going on here? That's my account right now. We're gonna go on the real account. There we go. Immediately now we're having fun. So now we're making a little mix of historical content. What's going on here? What the hell is that? Alright, so we can play Is It Funny? I have a feeling that. Alright, we're gonna warm up with Is It Funny, and then we're gonna do a quick
Dutch
video.
comedy isn't for everyone.
Jetzt vind je het eng.
Oh, my headset's not working again.
Kan het gewoon niet.
Why isn't it working? Alright. Connected. Okay, sorry. Let's try again. Because I'm really curious.
Dutch comedy isn't
Alright,
for
we're good.
everyone.
We're
Jetzt
back.
vind je het eng.
Kan het gewoon niet.
Ja, natuurlijk wel.
Okay, I'm bored. Low key, I'm bored. I can do some. There is real news to talk about, but let's see. See, now it's just Asmon. Anything good? Oh, yeah. Let's look a little bit at this. Does he have clips? Yeah. Okay. So, what's with? I want to talk about this. What is with conservative commentary and just hating every new movie that comes out? Like, the inability to have fun is awesome. Like, every time I see these movie reviews, it's like, they're woke, sure, but, like, they're bad, too. Like, have some fun. Like, relax. And just enjoy a movie. Like, it's always just shitting on every new movie. I don't understand it. Alright, I want to find a good... This could be good. There's a couple... no, it's... I want to do, like, political history a little bit. Yeah, we can do this one a little bit. But this might be a whole video.
Today's Real History episode is brought to you by Mount Titano Media.
So, real history. So I saw his one on... Emmett Till, and that video was just bad. That was a bad video. So, mate... I hope they're not all this bad, but I'm not expecting a lot. I've also seen him talk about the presidents, and it didn't seem like he knew that much about American history. So I'm curious on what his perspective is on the Civil War. So
Publishers of Finding Our Words.
let me turn that down a little bit.
It's words that built this. On the night of January 2nd, 1864, Confederate General Patrick Cleburne
Okay.
was worried. He warned his fellow Southerners that surrender to the North, quote, means that the history of this heroic struggle will be written by the enemy,
so
that our youth will be trained by Northern school teachers, will learn from Northern school books, their version of the war, will be impressed by all the influences of history and education to regard our gallant dead as traitors, our maimed veterans as fit subjects for derision. Cleburne was only partly right. For most of the following century, non-Southerners were pretty fair about the war and openly respected the South's leaders, including Lee.
okay, so let's start there. A couple issues, a couple obvious issues, right? So if we're talking about the real story, and we're talking about the whole conversation in history about how it's written from the perspective of the winners. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But the narratives can be written by the losers as well, which has obviously happened in this case, right? So I don't know what he's going to argue, but I'm worried that it's going to go down a lost cause rabbit hole where he's going to argue insuccinctly and incorrectly that the Civil War was because of economic reasons for states' rights, and then even more so that the Union was unjustified in many cases during the war, such as I'm gonna pre-watch and say that there's gonna be a 15-minute conversation about Sherman's March to the Sea and the quote unquote war crimes committed there and the supposed atrocities. Another issue I have is what he defines as treated fairly by the northern presidents after the Civil War. And he pits that as a good thing, when many historians claim, including myself, that they were treated too fairly. Like, for example, Confederate generals and leadership that were in positions of power before the Civil War were able to regain those positions of power after the Civil War. So in his mind, if I were to ask him, he would view that as equal treatment. And I think many would disagree and say you're being treated a little too fairly. You're not being punished enough. So, and one more thing.
Dead as traitors, our maimed veterans as fit subjects for derision. Cleburne was only partly right. For most of the following century, non-Southerners were pretty fair about the war and openly respected the South's leaders, including Lee.
Four top Americans passed.
Lee respect for most of the following
And
leaders.
Woodrow Wilson. Some of these people are just straight up Southern, Southern in general, right? He's a Southerner he was born into a very Confederate family and was raised to love and respect the Confederates. So we can't say that these Northern presidents were empathetic to the Southern cause. We're just talking about it's not even empathetic. It's they're part of the cause.
Including Lee.
Four top Americans passed. They are Franklin, Washington, Lincoln, and Lee.
The South erected statues and monuments to its heroes. Several were erected inside the United States Capitol. Even abroad, people respected the dignity, bravery, and brilliance of Robert E. Lee. Winston Churchill described Lee.
This is an opinion that I have that Lee is for sure overrated and not the best general in the Civil War. And his leadership led them to the defeat in Gettysburg. Why do we need to even have this conversation? Why is it so necessary for Matt Walsh to create this video in 2026, making sure to let everyone know that Robert E. Lee was a great man and a great general? Why is that a necessary part of the conversation? I don't think it is. I don't think it's significant historically.
Lee as one of the noblest Americans who ever lived and one of the greatest captains known to the annals of war. It was almost exactly 1 century after the war, in the 1960s, when things took a turn. But even then, it wasn't immediate. In 1977, the Southern rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd performed in Oakland, California with the Confederate battle flag as their backdrop. In 1988, Hank Williams Jr. released a top 10 hit called If the South Would Have Won. But during the woke upheavals of the last decade, the story really changed, and the statues and flags started coming down.
Okay. I don't understand the broader point. Is it a good thing that Lynyrd Skynyrd was repping the Confederate flag? Also, in addition, more so than just the Confederate flag, but also the base of the flag of Alabama, the song they're famous for, right? Sweet Home Alabama. But what are we going to argue that we're destroying our history here? I don't understand where he's going with this.
Even conservatives in the South had turned on Southern heritage.
It's time to move the flag from the Capitol grounds. 150 years after the end of the Civil War, the time has come.
The retreat opened the floodgates for anti-American radicals who literally desecrated the grave of Robert E. Lee's horse, melted his statues, and slandered his reputation.
The Confederacy, the American Civil War, it was an act of rebellion. It was an act of treason at the time.
The current
Is he debating that? If you asked if you went back in time and asked Confederates in the 1860s, I think they would admit what they were doing was an act of rebellion. And if we're taking the laws of the Union, an act of treason, right? It just objectively is. You are going to war with your own nation with the goals to create a separate country. That is objectively what the word an act of rebellion means, and objectively the definition of treason. And if you take that definition, then yeah, the leaders were treated too fairly afterwards.
understanding of the Civil War, as it's taught in Hollywood and schools and everywhere else, is a cartoon caricature.
I can't breathe. Robert E. Lee represents to me.
The last 10 years have been a master class in historical malpractice so jaw-droppingly stupid that, honestly, most sane people would just change the channel and call it a day. But here we are.
I want to know what he thinks is taught in schools. Because I hear that a lot. And as someone who teaches in schools, it's usually not what they say it is. Right? So we say that. This guy, what schools don't teach, but what does he know about what schools teach in the Civil War? I teach, well, I don't teach American history anymore, but you teach the objective truth. And if your position isn't taught in schools, a reason could be because it's just not the objective truth behind what happened in these historical events.
Obligated to tell the truth, so here it goes. The Civil War is not nearly as black and white as the schoolmarms wish it were.
Sure.
It was one of the most complicated events in American history.
No. Yeah, but no. It's such a... Okay, yeah, I'm definitely not going to finish this. This is going to be part one. But it's such a cop-out during historical events and current events to say it's complicated. It's complicated, right? You hear that a lot in the Israel-Palestine conversation, that it's really complicated. It's such a weird way to minimalize what's going on, and also in a way oversimplify it in kind of a weird way, right? Because if you break, like, there's certain things that aren't that complicated about it, that are just objective about it, and kind of simple to understand. But when you say it's complicated, you yourself kind of muddy the waters in a way out of kind of jumping out of this conversation.
Its heroes, who existed on both sides, were complex, multi-dimensional people. Over the course of this video, we're going to prove it. This is the real history of the Civil War.
Okay, so I don't think this conversation is really even necessary to have, but he wants to have it. I think I know why he's doing it. It's gonna get some engagement for sure. I'm curious about what the comments are saying. See, the thing is, comments like this is kind of what I was referring to. Is like, when I was in school, they taught us the right thing, but the kids in school now don't get taught the right thing. You don't know that. You have no reference point for that. So it's always confusing to me when that conversation is had. Anyways.
Imagine serving as an infantryman.
Okay, so it's gonna be part one, is the genius of Robert E. Lee. Why is that where we're starting? I wish there were chapters to see kind of... That's just not where I would begin the story. If we're gonna make arguments, I feel like I'd save that for later. I want to see the other chapters. Okay.
Imagine serving as an infantryman in a battle where your enemy outnumbers your side 2-1. And not only that, your enemy is better trained. They're well rested. And to make matters worse, they've caught your regiment and your entire army in a pincer. They have a massive number of soldiers behind you and in front of you, perfectly positioned. As an infantryman in
not
this
perfectly
scenario,
positioned.
all you can do is follow orders, march where you're told to march, and shoot when you see the enemy. So that's what you do. Then imagine that after a week of the most intense fighting of your life,
Okay. Isn't that like being on the losing side? Not the losing side, being on the outnumbered side doesn't automatically make you a hero. In addition, it's harder to pitch the Battle of Chancellorsville is a victory for the Confederates than it is just a complete and utter failure of Union generals to communicate.
you realize that your side has somehow emerged victorious. In fact, you've won decisively. You don't remotely understand how it happened. You thought it was impossible. Well, that was the experience of a Confederate soldier named Dorastus Myers during the Battle of Chancellorsville, which lasted from April 30th to May 6th, 1863. On May 11th, Myers, who served as a sergeant with the 33rd Virginia Infantry Regiment, wrote a letter to his brother and sister. Quote, "The Lord hath crowned our arms with another glorious victory." I think it was one of the hottest contests of the war. The enemy were strongly entrenched. We fought them on the left at Chancellorsville with 40,000 men against 110,000. I never was under such a fire of grape shell canister and musketry in my life, though the Lord spared my life. Although the Confederacy lost more than 13,000 soldiers at Chancellorsville, as well as several key officers, including Stonewall Jackson, the battle is widely considered to be the greatest Confederate victory
Friendly fire.
of the Civil War and one of the most impressive military victories of all time. The historic victory was the result.
I wouldn't say that. Anyways, I'm gonna get ready to go, but we'll finish this next time. This is a good video.